Hi, Chris Christopher here, and welcome to my third video of this four-part series, how to find your first profitable investment property. Now before we get into that, let's recap on the first and second video, how we discussed getting into the property market and how you can get a passive income of $400 a week without working 1 minute extra overtime. The importance of making a decision, because I can give you all this information, but without taking action, you're not going to be able to profit from it. You're not going to be able to understand exactly how to pay off your mortgage quicker and how to put yourself in a better position in retirement. We discussed what is your why. What is the reason that you're watching these videos? Understanding how to build your wealth, knowing your numbers, doing your due diligence, and very, very importantly, getting into the market and repeat and rinse, so just to duplicate a successful process. Now, a question I get commonly asked, what are the pitfalls and the biggest mistakes new investors or inexperienced investors make? And what I always say is be very, very cautious to not overcapitalize, to not overextend yourself. So if you walk into a bank, and usually you walk into the CBA because your parents shopped and you're a generation banker, and you say, here I am, what can I borrow? And they look at your asset and liability and they say, you can borrow $700,000. So what people do is they take that approval in principle, they go to their local agent and they say, I want to buy an investment property valued at $700,000 or thereabouts. First and foremost, you're over leveraging and you're borrowing to your absolute maximum. That will show you a property within that vicinity. That property is probably going to be second hand, which means it won't give you maximum tax deductions. It won't give you the highest rental yields possible. And is that the right area for you to invest? Most people invest in an area that they're comfortable with. When you're looking at the whole map of Australia, it obviously opens a number of other opportunities for you. Now, the area that you're comfortable with doesn't necessarily mean it's the right area for you to invest. So what we do at Reventon is we reverse engineer that process. Let's see what's it comfortable for you to borrow, where's a great area for you to invest Australia-wide that can give you maximum tax efficiencies, then give you a great rental yield and can position you in the marketplace much better. A few other things that we also look at is when you look at buying a property, we look at the most reputable builders with good quality product that have a good track record, that have built multiple homes, multiple buildings or multiple townhouses, hundreds and thousands of them, and have completed on time. Very important so you know who you're dealing with. We look for a fixed priced contract. What does a fixed price contract mean? If the contract says this house and land costs $300,000, it's not 1 cent more. A full turnkey product. What does full turnkey product mean? It includes, as silly as this may seem, paving, fencing, window finishing, letterbox. Now all those things people go, of course they're included. When you see from $200,000, that from can cost you lots of money because it might not include absolutely everything. So it's paramount that you look for a full turnkey product. We also would recommend, and we do with all of our clients, in completion inspection reports. So when the property is completed, we get an independent inspector to go through it with a trained pair of eyes to look for all the defects, all the structural challenges that they might have, and we make sure that they're rectified before we get a tenant moving into that property. Now this is a very, very important part of the process while we do our due diligence. So while we're looking at a great area for you to invest with the right amount of money that's not going to over leverage and extend yourself, we're looking for the right builder in the right area. Now, as I'm about to show you with one of our client examples, how even we've outperformed even Resonation predictions. And the way, because of all the due diligence and all the builders selection that we have and all of our stringent process which we use. But let's have a look exactly what that looks like and what of our due diligence part is. Now, I mentioned before we use certain forms which is used by the Reserve Bank of Australia. Now, Residex was formed in 1994 and it predicts the top 100 growth suburbs with a 91% accuracy rate. It's one of the only predictors that will give you future growth. Now if you look at RP data and things along those nature, they give you only historical data. But Residex also predicts future growth patterns. It uses a mathematical algorithm and determines where the government's spending infrastructure, where there's going to be supply and demand based on the spending, etc., etc. So as I said, it has a 91% accuracy. We also use Terry Ryder. Terry Ryder is arguably the most respected property columnist in this country. He has 40 years experience. I've appeared on multiple seminars with him, debates, and we've gone back and forth on real estate. I myself have 20 years, so collectively we have 60 years experience combined. He also is the owner of Hotspotting. So these are just some of the methods and some of the due diligence that we do to find the right areas for our clients. Now, this is just a snippet of a Resonation report, so let me show you. This particular one report was in 2016, and it's pertaining to Armstrong Creek, an area which we heavily invested in personally within me and my team, plus our clients. They predicted the next 5 years, Armstrong Creek will grow at 8%, and in the next 8, 10%. But if you look at Melbourne, it's predicted Melbourne to grow 1% and 3% respectively over those same time frames. Which, if anything, Melbourne hasn't even grown at that, and Armstrong Creek, it hasn't exactly used those predictions. Now, the next example I'm going to show you is a client of ours who came to us in 2015. Went through the same process, we did our due diligence, we looked at their finances before they looked at real estate, because a lot of people look at real estate before they look at their finances. I think you're doing it the wrong way around. We mentioned before in a previous video, location, location, location. For me, the most important thing is affordability, affordability, affordability. Getting in the market and buying the right property is the stepping stone to ensure that we can repeat the process to buy your second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth, and so on and so on. Now, this client came to us. Now, all these assumptions are, they put a 20% deposit, not assumptions, exactly what they did, sorry. They put a 20% deposit plus $20,000 for setup. With the exception of the last property, they used a 30% deposit because you need a high deposit when you're buying through your self-managed super fund. And we needed a $30,000 setup because it's a lot more expensive, or more expensive to buy within your super space, okay? So let's have a look at this client. Single lady, one income. She had one home, valued at $485,000. We did an equity release of $197,000, so we took $197,000 worth of equity from her home, still keeping under the 80% mark. Why did we do an equity release? Because we did not want to cross-collateralize her home and her investment properties, which means it's safeguarded. It's just a safety wall between her own home and her investment properties, and it's something that we do for all of our clients as well. So we used $93,000 for the equity release, and we bought her first investment property in Officer. It was a 4-bedroom home in 2015 for $365,000. Fast forward to 2019, that property now is valued at $525,000. We got the second part of equity release, $104,000, and we bought a property in Armstrong Creek. Now remember, Resonation said Armstrong Creek was going to grow 8% in the first 5 years, and the next 3 years, so the 8 years, was going to grow at 10%. 422 was the purchase. It's currently valued at 550. Now that's outperformed the 8% mark. Reason being, when you think about the things we discussed before, buying in the right area, using the right builder, making sure it's got a very high owner-occupier rate versus investor rate, all these things make a difference to your growth rate. Now, this property now is worth $550,000. The third property she purchased was in a self-managed super fund. Now, just refreshing again that we used a 30% deposit, because in super you need a high deposit and you need a 10% liquidity. Now this was all done through our financial planning company called CHE Planning Solutions. I myself am not a financial planner, but when you go you'll get licensed advice on all of these areas. Now, she put $99,000, which was 30% deposit, and she's a $30,000 setup out of her $250,000 super. She bought a house in Ballarat in 2018 for $330,000, which is now valued at $375,000. So let's look at what's happened for this client since she came to us in 2015 with one property. She's purchased 3 properties. The first one has grown at 43% in the 4-year period, 43%, which is $160,000. Second property has grown in 2 years 30%, which is $128,000. And the third property, which has only had for a year, has grown at 13%, which is $45,000. Now this is in today's market, and all the media would tell you about the doom and gloom, stay away from property. These are the returns we're getting. I've already showed you previous clients' examples. I've shown you Graham and Tanya Linico came to us with a 14-year mortgage. We paid it off in 6 and also put 2 investments behind them, which grew at a tone of $300,000 in today's market. So what's happened for this client? They've had a total growth of $333,000 in today's market. Now let's stop and analyze that for a second. What could we do with that $333,000 if we wanted? She could sell her properties, pay off her own home. She could keep going down the path of building more wealth. She can rinse and repeat, as we said, step number 7 in our previous video, and she could just keep going. How are we able to achieve these sort of results? Well, based on the formulas that I showed you, based on the due diligence that we do, making sure we find the right builders, using ResiRedex, using Terry Ryder, and putting all of those things together, making sure we get our completion reports to get the right builder and get the right product for us and put it behind it, not over leveraging, was the way we're able to achieve these results for a single lady who came to us in 2015. And I can show you hundreds of examples like this and how we're able to get our clients in today's market double-digit returns, time in and time again. Because when you look at the average growth rate, that's just an average. There's sub-regions that are performing way outside that. And with all of our research, with Terry Ryder's reports, and all our due diligence, we're able to find those. And we'd like to find those for you too as well. Now, all of this information is great. But as I've discussed before, unless you take action, you implement this in your system, and you follow meticulously step by step by step, it's not going to mean anything to you. So we have 3 options at this point. You can take all this information and do nothing with it. You can take this information and act, or you can come to us and we can show you exactly how to put this in place. Now, we've helped over 3,000 Australians do something like this before. Reventon's been around since 2005. We've settled over 400 million in residential lending in the last 2 years. We have 600 million under management both in finance, asset and property. And we've helped over 3,000 Australians achieve that. This takes the guesswork out of it for you, and we can tell you exactly what the potential hurdles are ahead of you and make sure we mitigate the risk and duplicate this process as many times as possible. So, the secret to all this is very, very simple. It's getting started. It's that first step. Now, the first step's always the hardest, but then it gets a lot easier because you start to build momentum. So I implore you, please take all this information and do something with it. Now, my 4th and final video, which is my story, how I got started, how I built a property portfolio at 19 years of age, and at 24 had 8 properties, how I built an empire behind me with thousands of clients, and how we can help you do it too. Now, please stick around for the end of the next video because I have a special gift for you. My book, which I've just released, Your Path to Wealth, Brick by Brick, which shows you exactly how to put all these things together. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. You don't want to miss my last video.